constitutional change of government. Then comes the sub-Saharan African theory. That theory examines the frequent occurrences of unconstitutional governments. For this, I have prepared a little bit readable material and shared with PAP coordinators. I cordially just request the attention of coordinators to share with this review document with the audience for their further information on this issue. So the AIM's approach to mitigating UCT is one of the perspectives. The theory looks into how the AU is working to reduce UCT. You see? And the case of Libya's National Transitional Council, NTC, is also one of the unique issues taken as one of the perspective, African perspective, which looks at the rules and the standards from the normative framework point of view related to usages. And AU recent decision to acknowledge the National Transitional Council of Libya as the legitimate government. This is a very peculiar specific situation without considering those mainstream recommendations of making what the democratic government makes. So the Libyan National Transitional Council is accepted as a democratic. So it's been taken to consider the body of knowledge of UCG. So examination of the causes of UCGs, some of the main causes involving a combination of political, economic, and social factors are as well. The first and foremost cause is the integrity of election. It plays a crucial role in preventing UCGs. That if the certain election process is understood or not accepted by the people, because it is rigged and it's not democratic, it is one of the cause for upcoming uprising or revolt or an attempt to change that undemocratically elected government. The other one is diversity management, human rights. You see, in a diversified society, the intentional strategy and the policy to manage the diversity with accommodation of equal opportunity and observing the human rights is very important so that we can prevent usages. So this by itself, in turn, can be taken as one of the reasons for usages. Another one is constitutional order and the state legitimacy. See, the concept of constitutionalism has to be there. This can signify influence the likelihood of unconstitutional change of government. Constitution is taken as the basic law of the land, so everybody in the jurisdiction are expected to behave according to the constitution. If there is no constitutional order and it's not obeyed or observed by certain group, the possibility of happening of unconstitutional change of government is expected. So another one is economic governance, it is good for you, and public sector accountability, public popular uprising, public demonstration often ignited by discontent with the ruling authorities also can lead to unconstitutional change of government as happens in many African countries. At the same time, let us see very briefly about usages in Africa, recent cases described. As an introductory, we know that usages have been a significant issue in African political history. And Africa experienced more than 200 military coups since 1960. So the African Union has been actively working to address the issue. some recent examples for the purpose of this discussion. I come up with about 7 countries, about 7 usages happened in Africa within 4 years, from 2020 up to 2023. You see, these are coup d'etats happened in Mali, Chad, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Sudan, Niger, and very recently. The case of Niger was the case was orchestrated by the Presidential Guard, with General Abdurrahman Tichani leading the junta. Currently, the situation in Niger remains uncertain. There have been protests both in support of and against the coup. The recent usage in Niger has raised several questions about the stability and the future of the country itself. And it has been also the involvement of the previous colonial powers there. One of the reasons is also the presence of the army of the colonial power in that land. And also, after the coup, there is also those colonial powers in the Western hand in it. So UCG in Africa is very critical. Some possible ways to bring about peace, stability, and legitimacy, if you see in the case of Niger, it needs some actions of strengthening democratic institutions and promoting transparency and accountability, addressing root problems, and prioritizing the concerns of the people. So the situation in Niger highlights the importance of strengthening democratic institutions. You see, promoting transparency and accountability, prioritizing the concerns of the people. Also underscores the need for regional and international cooperation to prevent and respond to unconstitutional change of government. You see, even the strengthening of the African Union's involvement in a more strong way, so that it can address the actual problem of African countries who are suffering or facing the unexpected usages. So, national parliaments, then comes what is the role of parliament in controlling usages. They do have so many roles in this regard. But my own, yeah. Excuse me? From my own experience, I can say national parliaments or lawmakers play a crucial role in preventing usages in Africa. Here are some ways they may contribute. The first one is legislative oversight, which we are going to discuss tomorrow very extensively, what legislative oversight means, and also as the parliamentary honorables, you know what it means, but in the normative point of view, we will discuss it in detail tomorrow. And also promotion of dialogue. See, change of ideas. We can create, in view of just bringing about consensus. So that if there is consensus, there will be stability, peace. Okay? The other one is security reform. Security reform is very important, especially security sector is one of the main orchestrator or enabler of UCGs in most of African countries, including the military security. So if that is reformed, the possibility of making that problem maybe minimized. Another one is accelerating achievement of UCG, sustainable development goal. Accelerating achievement of sustainable development. That may curb the economic problem, this unemployment problem, which also exacerbates speed up the problem. So participation in international bodies, so that international cooperation, collaboration, and partnership could be in place in controlling disease and other forms. So these roles, among others, highlights the importance of Parliament in maintaining, constitutional order and preventing usages in Africa. The effectiveness of the roles and the areas for improvement when we talk about usages are this. You know that one is legislative oversight, as I said, promotion of dialogue, security reform, accelerating the achievement of sustainable goals, which I said earlier. So participation in international bodies. Some African countries with effective legislative oversight, as per my recent literature review, are this country. Please pardon me. This may not be exhaustive list of countries, African countries with strong legislative body, but I'm saying my very recent and brief literature review indicates these countries are in a good track in controlling usages in Africa. The first one is South Africa. South Africa, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, Uganda, Senegal, Rwanda, Mauritius, Botswana, and Morocco have a very good experience in bringing about strong legislative bodies, especially preventing and constitutional change of government. So let us talk about policies and strategies and rules aimed at preventing usages. Usages pose, as you know, a significant threat to the stability, peace, and development of nations in Africa. The prevention of usages is therefore a critical issue that requires comprehensive and strategic approach. So, because of this, policies, strategies, and rules play a pivotal role in this regard as they provide a framework for government and guide action of state action. The significance of these policies, strategies, and rules lie in their ability to create an environment that discourages usages. Knowing that all of you are policy makers, lawmakers, I didn't want you to indulge with the definition of what policy means, what strategy means, that's what would mean, because you know it. The aim to foster a culture of constitutionalism, respect for the rule of law, and democratic culture would be also one of the objectives of some policies, strategies, and rules. And then promoting free and fair election. They ensure that the legitimacy of government reduce the likelihood of usages. So there is an integrated policy framework, integrated legal framework, which protects, you see, the legitimacy of government, the possibility of happening of usages will be minimized. The implementation of these policies, strategies, and rules is crucial for preventing usages, especially in Africa, because we are aware that our culture is not that much developed to the extent of making these things not to happen. So they provide roadmap for promoting stability and peace. Therefore, it's imperative for African parliamentarians to understand and advocate for these measures in their respective countries' development context. So, proposed policy provisions and new policy suggestions are, some of these are, the first one is putting in place the integrity of democratic election. This strategy emphasizes the importance of conducting free, fair, and transparent election. What we call the democracy is given, it's not an previous knowledge of Africa, but most of us have willingly or in whatever case we have already accepted it. If we accept it, we have to put it or implement it according to its principle and its basic principle. So that is meant as integrity of democratic election. If we reach that, the possibility of happening of diversity is high. Diversity management and human rights is typically very important to Africa because we are diversified community, diversified people. So just keeping the rights, human rights, and diversity management is very important. Constitutional order and the state legislative, as you know, it's very important. And economic governance and public sector accountability. Public sector are there just to provide seamless service, governance to its people. So keeping the public service activity, public sector ethics is very important. So by understanding and effectively implementing these measures, African nations can navigate the path towards stability, peace, and development, thereby reducing their likelihood of usages in Africa. Thank you so much. This is all about I have. Thank you for active listening, and we'll get back after during discussion. Thank you so much.
1.
Thank you, Doctor. We followed your presentation with a lot of interest, and now we wish to give the floor to the members in the room so that they may react to the points you have just presented. We are going to try to see if we can find solutions so that we can put an end to any constitutional coup d'etat. And within that context of development and democracy, and to start on respecting constitutions and our parliaments and our Pan-African Parliament as enacted by the laws of our countries. Mr. Jamari, Honorable, you have the floor. Thank you for giving the floor. I would like to make an observation. I've noted on listening to what is happening in so many countries, I get to believe that certain countries are not politically independent and not even economically. African countries which are independent politically still resort to ask for assistance from the countries that colonized us in the past. And these are the countries that take our mineral resources. It's to these countries that we sell our minerals at very low prices. I come to believe that for as long as we remain politically independent, and for as long as we shall remain economically dependent, it will be very easy for the outside to destabilize our countries because we are being managed from outside. And those countries managing us from outside will continue to divide us. And when we are divided, it becomes very easy for those countries to take our resources, our wealth. I would now like to ask the presenters, where shall we find the solution? And how shall we apply it in governance in Africa? Where shall we apply any solutions we may find so that the majority of African countries may be saved from that unconstitutional change of government, which is like rainstorms falling on Africa? Because in 2022, very recently, 7 coup d'etat took place, and that's too much. And that jeopardizes development when such unconstitutional changes of government take place. And when some coup d'etat fail, still we get trouble. We are still disturbed. So we should find a solution to this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would wish now to give the floor to Honorable Salah, who would wish to take the floor to react to the presentations that have been made.
To begin with, I want to thank the presenter, and frankly, it was very good. I have some observation. I wish that these presentations, wish that they've been sent to us before, are well translated so that we would use them, given that during the presentation that there are some challenges because of the internet, but there's no problem. We thank the presenter from Libya. I thank God, and I've listened to, I've benefited from this workshop since yesterday. More than presentation, they talk about Libya. The doctors talked about Libya, and talked about the African that recognized the transitional government, and this goes back to 2011. And everyone knows that at that time that was not a coup d'etat, but it was a revolution by the people, and which was basically it was inserted by the foreigners to settle scores between settle score between some countries with Gaddafi, and maybe some politicians, they don't want, they try to politicize it, but the academician need to be very specific in some situation. Like we said, that the Libyan situation is special, but now what after after 10 years, and up to now, Libya has never stabilized. It has a parliament. It has had a parliament for 10 years. There are 2 governments in Libya, but unfortunately, the international community and even some African countries, most of the countries, they support a government which is not recognized by the parliament, the government that owns only the city, whereas the rest of the country is ruled by the parliament, which is about 75%. Unfortunately, there's double standards in dealing with these issues. When we are talking about change of unconstitutional usages, Libya is not, but like it was with there are very many usages that have been, but the solution to those are far-fetched. Because institutions and the politicians don't mind, and also there are also some foreign interferences that lead to all this. We just hear about those court deaths, and then we hear some condemnation from African Union, and then things done from there. Of course, there are people who just close their eyes on what has happened, more especially politicians. But when we come to parliament or commission, the parliament has to be legislative and it has to take its responsibility. And this, what we need to know: what is the parliament? How is it constituted? And what is the parliamentary culture? How do they? Just parliament filled by political uh, parties that are there for their special interests. I talked about Niger because Niger is our neighbor. What happened in Niger? It was within the same party. It was internal, and so there are no changes in constitutions like it happens in some countries. He used the army to overthrow his friend. That's what happened to Niger. That's what we see. Generally, I don't want to take a lot of. These are some of the observations that I thought that I need to make. But when we talk about Libya, we will hope that we need to look for solutions. We need to get people who can support it. We want Libya is looking at holding elections maybe in the next coming, but of course there are external interference, and the UN Special Envoy Abdallah Batili has also not living to expectations, despite the fact that we are very optimistic. But I pray that all African countries should really take interest in the issues of Libya. Libya is part of Africa, and it is a gateway of Africa. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Honorable. Now, we would wish to give the floor to our colleague Sven Midrand, South Africa. If Doctor has any answers to give, you are free to give the answers now.
Zero.
The question. Actually, the first one is not as such a question that I shared with the speaker on the issue. As I said earlier, Africa, as Africa, we have our own political culture, our own indigenous political administration, and we may call it democratic or whatever. We have to just start to inward looking to just enrich what we have, the political point of view. That's due to the yes. Can I continue? Is there a problem? And also the speaker's view, the involvement of the external powers. Most of the time I condemn it with Western's involvement mainly for their parochial interests, for grabbing our resources and others, has to be also considered. Yes, yeah. We have to strengthen our institutional system. We have to strengthen our both our political consciousness and make use of our resources for our benefit. Unless otherwise we strengthen ourselves politically, at the same time economically, we cannot enjoy the endowment of our continent. So this issue is there for the last 6 to 7 this court, is there in the agenda, the discourse for the last 7 or 8 decades after independence that is not as such coming into the floor or is not implemented so far. But the current situation, even this forum by itself is very, very important. It's very exemplary as we are about to unify, and there are also economic operations, regional economic cooperation, peace cooperation are working hard, and we have African Union now, we have an African Parliament. Through time, we can strengthen, if we are strengthened and to the level of making our sovereignty, continental sovereignty, we have a capacity just to defend ourselves and to effectively use our resources for the benefit of our people. That is my personal perspective, sharing the idea of the first speaker. I'm sorry, the name. With regard to the issue of Libya, I want to be clear, it's not a critic, We are just analyzing the theory or the perspective towards the unconstitutional change of government. You see? When we take the NPC issue, the Libya issue, it's unique because the theory, as I said earlier, and the theory is the African theory, see, studying the guidelines that exist for dealing with situations where a government is changed in a way that is not in line with the country's constitution, with the existing constitution. It is also looking at the recent examples where the African Union has decided to officially recognize the national transitional council of leaders. This entity was not an active body, but it's a body formed during the Libyan revolution to oversee the transition of power. See, NTC was not labeled as unconstitutional or illegal. Had it been according to the previous theory, had it been the African Union decided to recognize it, it would have been taken as illegal and constitutional change of government. But African Union, considering the specific situation of Libya, proposed the theory, argues that it should work closely with the African Union, decided to work closely with NATC to ensure a smooth and credible transition of power in Libya. See, this means that African Union should support the NPC in its effort to establish a new government and ensure that this process is carried out in a fair and transparent manner. This could involve providing advice, monitoring the situation, and offering the resources and support where it is needed. From that perspective, the experience of Libya taken as one of the African theory recognized, even if NCC is not democratically elected, come up in the process of revolution, so it is recognized as a legend. So this is the point. I think the two issues are this is another one ready for storage, if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tashome. This is the Johannesburg committee meetings. You have covered many things on the unconstitutional change of governments in Africa. Actually, our group here has exhaustively even dealt with the issues that you have raised, but you added your own flavor on it. It's very good. So let me allow the honorable members here to say something on your presentation.
I'm ready.
أشكر الأخ الفاضل هذه المداخلة.
1.
I thank the presenter on his discussion of the unconstitutional transition. This could be in addition from me as a question, also a question. Yes, come again. نعم ها ترجمة ممكن تستمر. Okay, it's okay now. I have, in my opinion, it is just like a question for the presenter. I think Africa may not be saved from this cause unless we need to invest, we put our emphasis on education, particularly higher education. For example, all parliamentarians were really well educated, and ministers and institutions were very educated. Nobody would dare to effect unconstitutional change. For example, we have 400 universities. These universities must be devoted to empowering the African citizens. The other point is that these schools and constitutional changes, if the political parties with the civil societies, if they don't have a law that will protect them, but it will not be saved from this transition. Because if the parties are not very much committed on democracy, for example, in a country, you will find in a country 200 parties. How will a military officer dare to make a coup where these parties were supposed to have actually refused? So the strengthen the political parties and the civil society organization. This will make actually the protection of democracy possible. The last point that I will mention, Pan-African Parliament, they must be thinking about the need to have a legislative parliament. Because this is what the national governments are fearing. They fear because when they see the power can legislate, they will look at it as a strength for African countries and African countries. So I think that will help in stabilizing the issue of democracy in Africa. Thank you.
Two, 1, 0.
Yes, I am with you, but I'm sorry. I didn't clearly the interpretation due to the sound vibration.
Oh.
If I can ask you kindly to briefly frame that the question.
Okay. I will brief here. He has given you comments on the solutions that you are given, and he focused on education. Education is one of the things that we have to focus on. We have to educate our citizens so that this kind of unconstitutional change of governments could not take. Another is the strength of the African Union on oversighting on implementation of the legislatives And the other issue is the strengthening of the Pan-African Parliament as a legislative body. This parliament is supposed to be a legislative body of the continent, but it's not in that extent. It is consultative power, so it cannot oversight all the activities of the African Union. So these are the comments that he has given you.
Thank you so much. It's clear. Thank you.
Yes, please, continue, Honorable.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
7 0 1
I want to thank Doctor for this wonderful presentation. I want to have some observation. The first thing that we need to agree with the presenter and then the contributor from Libya. That is not the Western nor the colonizers. They don't want for the Africa to become strong, united. This is the problem. This is not the challenge, because we are suffering from problems because many of the African countries, they don't have economic independence, despite the fact that they have resources. Even we can say we could be sincere in if we say the political decision is always halfway. Even African Union as an organization, more than resources of African Union and even resources of Pan-African Parliament, resources that are external from Europe and others. So since we don't have since we don't have control over our resources, we are not going to be fully fledged in making our own political and economic decisions. Because we are facing the world that does not Africa to be united. The question now is, how do we for Africa to confront these challenges? How can Africa become united and has control over its political and economic resources? Because why are we having coups? The coups we have here is because of the French colonizers. It is they steal our resources of the countries, so that leaving the countries very poor. Therefore, the people will be very poor. We shall not have education nor health. So this is one of the challenges. How can Africans liberate themselves? This is one of the reasons for these coups that are happening. So my question is are there steps and measures for the research, so that the Africans can take steps that have been taken in the past, so that they become independent? Thank you.
Zero.
Have you got the question?
Yeah, unfortunately, the better sound is not clear. The sound is
okay, let me recap, and you will go for answer. Let me recap for you.
Okay.
The honorable member is talking about the challenge that Africans have in terms of the unity of Africa. The first thing is that there is a visible colonial powers influence on the economy, on the politics, and that this has weakened the the African self-decision and independence of Africans. So, for instance, he raised the issue of the African Union itself is funded by the other countries out of Africa. So we are not fully self-sufficient in terms of standing for ourselves in terms of economy. So how can Africa be united, and how can Africa develop its own independent economy so that it can stand politically and economically for itself? He took example of the Western Africa. We have the visible presence of the France colonial legacy. So would you please react for these comments? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very gladly. I'm afraid if I took you to the academic and the political science discourse about the efforts of the forefathers of Africa to bring about United States of Africa, how it is aborted and how it is established, and how also AU come into work. So I truly agree with the concern of was the speaker, honorable speaker. Yes, it's at the global level, especially after the resource what Africa has, and also Africa unite. They know what will happen to the national interest. See, one stronger global power will come up, but from Africa region, of Africa, will be fine. So because of this, with quote unquote understandable reason for the own interest, it's known that the African Union of African effort to bring about unified governance is not supported. So there are so many clandestine efforts orchestrated by major powers behind the screen, using even our African fellow people
We are not hearing. Dr. Tashoma, we are not hearing you.
We think the doctor has a technical problem. So doctor, if you could maybe switch off your video so that your audio comes out clearly. Just switch off your video at the moment.
Hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I can't hear you.
Yes, we do.
Oh, this could be one of the sabotage of the Westerners. When we discuss about African unity, this internet has got. This is not our property. It's not our intention. You see. So it is pervasive. Knowing this, the only thing that expected from the current generation of African leaders like you, parliamentarians, is to come to consensus You see, they not to be used as a game tools for another parties or Western, I can say Western, I can say also the capitalist endeavors, which also focus on their own national interest at the expense of our future development, at the expense of the effort to make our continent to its betterment. So I share the idea very honestly. The challenge that African Union facing is critical, as you know. There is an attempt, or there are also committed people within this system, but I can generally say the effort and the effort to put in place this idea into practice at this moment is not that much as we expect promising. See, it needs very high level of commitment, gravity, and working hard so that gradually we can bring about our continental sovereignty, so that we can be competitive at the global level. You see, so as I said earlier, this attempt and this idea is not new. It has been there from the struggle made done by our forefathers, divided into two groups, as you know very well, the Casablanca and the group and the other group. There was a discourse between the two, and there was a secret involvement of those Western power to make the upcoming African unity like tasteless, without power. They reduce power, which keeps all African countries, you see, dependent by their own. There is no power to challenge them. So, being conscious of this thing, the current generation of African leaders, I can say, can bring about change if you work hard. See, what is started now is really very good. For instance, if the path continues the way that it is now doing, and trying to also strengthening the major body, that African Union, and if African Union so works hard on that, why not? We may see our continental power into place in the future. So we shouldn't just give up. You see, there must be certain effort for that, and also we have to be also aware of the resistance. Very clandestine kind of sabotage will continue in the future, because they themselves are trying to keep their benefit, you see, maintained. You see, knowing that we have to also fight to keep our continent to its level of strength. So the idea, what I have on the second point is this one. On the first idea, I have also supplement for that. It's not as a question. You see, keeping education expand, quality of education expand across our generation is very important, because the upcoming economy, the current economy is development phase. The politics and also every aspect of institution leadership of institution is based on knowledge. So expanding and advancing indigenous knowledge and also modernizing it is very important, not only to establish a strong upcoming African government, but also even to make use of the resources, the current resources for the current generation itself. So I agree with the idea. Thank you so much. This is what I have.
Thank you very much. You have covered all the questions that we raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
One.
Thank you, Doctor. On this side in Burundi, we thank you sincerely because your development, the years you have developed have been very of great interest. So now we're going to do everything possible to take up this challenge. And together, we'll continue to innovate and to serve better. So thank you, Doctor. And see you next time. Thank you so much. Chair. Someone is seeking the floor. Someone is seeking the floor. Is speaking with the chair. He's speaking to the chair. Our Honorable Doctor would like to take the floor with regard to the ideas that have been shared. Thank you, Chair. Since this is a topical subject, allow me to make an observation. That is, in the African Parliamentarian News, there is an article that stated that we are holding a session without quorum. So when I read that article, frankly speaking, it's really affected me, because we parliamentarians, we were invited and people sacrificed and made expenses to travel. Now others are attacking on negatively the work that's being done. So we have a crisis. We need to get out of a crisis mode to be able to do the work, to do work. So there's a crisis, but who created the crisis? If they want activities to stop completely, we don't have the same agendas in our countries, and we are coming to the end of the year. So there are many countries that are in a budgetary session. If we wait for a quorum, when are we going to meet to discuss the crisis that we created, so that then we can develop the Pan-African Parliament? I think this politics should, of saying that if it's not me, nothing will be done, that should stop. We know, and this is why we are lagging behind. Because people say, if not me, then nothing will happen. It's very unfortunate. It's wicked. We should understand that we are here, and even the discussions we are holding these 2 days, it's positive. People did not spend, they didn't just travel for the sake of it. They didn't travel and not interested in what we're doing. They have their ears and they know something that's happening. They are listening. So really it's wicked. It's a wicked practice. But it's because of this that they cannot tell us the truth. These practices should stop. If we continue like this, the Pan-African Parliament will collapse. It will disappear. So we should be serious. Each country made an effort to send at least one parliamentarian, and that's a plus. And it's something we need to encourage. It's not something that we should be trivializing. Those who are talking, where were they? And they're the ones who created the crisis we are faced with. Thank you, Doctor. Before I give the floor to the next speaker, Secretary General wants the floor, but allow me to say that Honorable Doctor, the Honorable Doctor just wanted to recall people to order, and he wanted to ask people to work so that the Pan-African Parliament can shine once again. We legal persons say that these meetings just serve those who have held them. So it's up to us to find solutions. Nobody will come and do this work together. So let us work together, hand in hand, so that we take up the challenge. So these are the observations I wanted to add to what has been stated by the honorable member has made. And so we give you the floor, in which case we want to thank you because we don't have any other requests for the floor. This subject has been clear, the presentation was clear, we have listened to it with interest, and we are going to continue working on this theme so that we can contribute to the best of ourselves to take up the challenges we are faced with. Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether you're listening to me. Are you listening to me, Chair? Chair, I think what I would like to say is that following the Honorable Speaker from Cote d'Ivoire who has been speaking, who is from Togo, we need to thank Burundi that accepted to host this meeting and who have done everything possible to make available the facilities, like the premises here, to hold this meeting. We should thank the member states and all the members of parliament who are taking part in this meeting, because it's a sacrifice during this period of budgetary session. Most national parliaments have graciously accepted to allow their members to have means to be able to attend this meeting. This is not a statutory meeting, but we sought their indulgence so that this meeting takes place within the means available to us. So there are those who decided to attend, and so we need to thank them. Now, on the issue of quorum, this is a joint meeting. So technically, and it's technical to discuss a number of issues, certain subjects which are on the agenda. So we have done our best to ensure that these themes are discussed to take advantage of parliamentarians who are here instead of simply crossing our hands. And for a joint meeting like this one, it is the outcome of this meeting that's most important. We are not voting anything, so for here, quorum is only required when there is voting required from members. But here, this is not the case. There is no voting. Therefore, the exceptions raised on the matter of quorum do not apply. So I would like to encourage you once again to remain strong and to ensure that this meeting is a success. Thank you very much, Chair. Our friends who are in Midland, we are saying see you next time.
Thank you very much. See you soon.